listeners. This is DJ Morena Libre. We are tuned in to Radio Feminista. Today we have a wonderful guest, la doctora Stephanie Alvarez. She's here, present, and I've been waiting for this moment for actually quite a bit. I know I've wanted to invite you over and talk, and then when you sent me that, you send me an Instagram message, like you forwarded me something, and I'm like, when are you gonna come to the show?
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah.
This is gonna be fun, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I want to introduce you. Just
Okay.
because you have a beautiful bio, right? Like you just done so much.
Okay.
So Dr. Stephanie Alvarez is professor of Mexican American Studies and director of Puentes, a cultural wealth model for student success, and U.S. Department of Education Title 10 grant? 5 title. Yeah, I need to learn my
Roman
numerals. She served as the founding director of the Center for Mexican American Studies at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. Alvarez has been recognized by the Carnegie Foundation for teaching as the U.S. Professor of the Year. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
The American Association of Hispanics in Higher Education as the Outstanding Latino Faculty in Higher Ed Award, and the University of Texas System Board of Regents with the Outstanding Teaching Award. As a professor, she has been instrumental in the implementation of testimonios as a signature pedagogy in the program, creating service learning courses for students to engage with the community, which has resulted in oral history collections, murals in collaboration with the Smithsonian Institute in the city of San Juan, which is ironic, right? Like, it's just, we're going to be,
So
we're going to
ironic.
talk about it, that Texas, and multiple collaborations with FAR, San Juan Alamo ISD, including a Dia de los Muertos Altar competition now in its 7th year. She has assisted over a dozen Chicanx Latinx students in reaching their goal of gaining entrance to a PhD program, including me. She is a co-editor of the book, The American Poet, thank you. Essays on the work of Tato Laviera, and author of numerous essays on the intersections of education, race, gender, language, identity, and culture. Welcome.
Gracias.
Yeah, this is
por la
really-
invitación.
Yeah. So we have a signature question that we ask all our guests. What does feminism mean to you?
Ay, Dios mío.
I know.
That is so hard to answer. It can mean so many things, especially to so many people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's ironic because I'm actually teaching a Chicana feminism class right now. It's the first time I teach it. So I should be able to answer this really easily, but I can't.
Yeah. Well, and I think the reason we asked the question, and I've had people come in with their script, like with their, they pull out their
Big
their
old,
phones, or
journal.
they pull out their
That
writing.
requires too much preparation.
Yeah,
I don't have
no.
time for that.
No, and it's really just for us to think through
Yeah.
feminisms.
No, when you asked the question, what immediately came to mind, I don't know where this came from. But I thought of Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, and there's a famous quote of hers that came to me with that question, and that was, sorry, I'm laughing already. Yo la peor de todas.
Yo la peor de todas.
Yeah, which she said, like, very sarcastically in one of her writings. But, I think that's how people perceive you, if you're, like, a radical feminist, which I wouldn't even say I'm a radical feminist. I mean,
Yeah.
because I don't even know what radical means, right? It's different for everybody. And it's sort of like in the progressive community, you're never woke enough, right? And that's the case in every, like, intersection of progressive communities, right?
Yeah.
So you're a feminist, but, you can never be feminist enough,
No.
right? So it's really hard to say those things, like radical, and because it's a definition that's, like, imposed by other people a lot of times. But, for me, I don't know why I thought exactly about that, but I think I thought of Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, Yo soy la peor de todas, because we talked about her in class, and none of the students had ever heard of Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz except one who's an elderly woman
Okay.
in my class. And she had heard about Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz.
Okay.
But they were fascinated by her. Like, I told them that in my PhD program, I took a whole class on Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. And they're like, we want a whole class on Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. Like, I said I could do maybe half a semester. But because Sor Juana's writings are so complex, right? I mean, a lot of people think of her as this feminist that only wrote against the church and the patriarchy, but she wrote so much on science, art, everything. But I think, feminism for me is it's not just believing in equity for the different genders, right? It's someone who their lens, right, is from a perspective. It's a female, a woman's mujerista perspective, and that doesn't mean that you have to be a woman to have that perspective, right? And that you're moving in spaces with a very, very intentionally to ensure that women voices are heard, that they're not silenced, that their experiences are affirmed, and that they're brought to the forefront. And I don't mean that's why you can't say I don't say equity, because it's more than that. It needs to be way out in front because those voices have been silenced for so long. And we also have these multiple perspectives like Gloria Anzaldúa talks about, and many others, but, she's really foundational in bringing out the idea of a mestiza consciousness, which she says is a woman's consciousness, right? Yeah. And so for me, it's that. And I say yo la peor de todas because I get into trouble a lot. I don't know, because
We just laughed.
I mean, not just in the community, especially at the university, because you have all these folks who think they're progressive, and they are to the extent that they can be or are willing to be.
Or their imagination takes them to.
As soon as you bring up anything well, this is biased against women, this is discriminatory against women, they lose it. I think they're just fragile, right? And not willing to accept that these things happen. I don't know. But it's how dare you call me not a feminist, or that I'm biased against women? And I'm I'm biased against women. You're talking about so much to unlearn, right? So we're always in a process of learning and unlearning, and so it's just being willing to accept that. I realize sometimes I do things that are not helpful for feminism, maybe. Right.
Well, there's so many intersections that we have to be thinking about all the time.
All the time, yes.
All the time, and that's work.
Yes.
Right. We recognize that as being work, but yet not everyone's willing to do that work.
Yeah, they're not.
No.
And I think some of it is getting older, wiser.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of cheesy thing to say, but I think you just start thinking differently. You start looking internally, and know that everyone is a complicated person. We all have contradictions, and we're going to mess up.
Yeah.
They're not just the others, we ourselves are going to mess up. And for example, I can tell you there's times that I should have spoken up. Maybe even yesterday, but I'm exhausted, and I'm deciding which thing is the most important thing today at this moment to do, right? And so, being a feminist is really hard work, not just because of all of those layers, but also, within our own communities. And we need to be able to have grace with one another, have conversations instead of online bullying or texting back and forth. And it's hard, and maybe it doesn't feel safe, right? Because it's not emotionally. You're putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, But that's hard to do, you know, and I don't say like, I'm willing to do it, so I'm better than this person. No, I understand that person, for example, may not have the capacity at that moment, and they might not have the capacity for 3 or 4 years. But are we going to have grace with one another and be willing to listen and know that are they moving intentionally with harm or not, right? And I think that's the most important thing. And most people I find are not intentionally doing it, right? There's some that do, though. Right? No doubt about it, right? I mean, look at the political scene right now. I mean, that is intentional harm and a real belief that women, you know, and queer folks are inferior.
Yeah.
But the only good part about it is at least it's out in the open to me, because if it's not, we can't deal with it. We can't resolve it.
Right.
You know. So yeah, I don't know if that even answers the question.
No, it does. I mean, I
Yo
think
la peor de todas. That's gonna be my answer every time.
Should be.
Yeah.
I love your
And
teacher. That would be a T-shirt.
that would, that should be a T-shirt, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh totally. We should
Yeah.
definitely make a T-shirt.
Yeah. But I mean, and for me, I mean, I think I love that you chose, you know, that say, you know, or that, you know, that quote from her, because I think for a lot of people, when you think about the conversation of what is a feminist, right? That's the first thing that comes to mind. Because you were saying, right, like that when you think about, you know, when you talk to people, right, it's always been like, oh, it's, you know, if you're a feminist, right, of course it's always, the images always come up of the women rebelling against their men, women burning bras or these things, right? But the thing is that I think what I like, or not like, what I love about you choosing that for your definition is that, you know, it goes with what you're talking about. This whole, the messiness of what it means, you know, to be a feminist, right? Again, it doesn't, and it's not a gender thing, right? It's not, you know, just women or just men or queer, you know. But I think, so for me, I think that's like a perfect definition,
Yeah.
because it is, like you all are saying, right? It is messy to be a feminist, right?
No hay un
It-
molde.
Exactly,
No,
there
hombre,
isn't.
no.
Yeah, and so and I think you know, knowing you for a very long time, right, from undergraduate and graduate level, I think as far as like your research and your trajectory as an educator, I think for me, now that you said this, is like I feel like that's always been who you have been, right? In academia, but even outside academia. But I think with what you're trying to project to your students, as far as what they can be, and you know, and how far they, even though some places might not allow them to go, but they can go,
Right.
right? So yeah, so I think for me, that you know, thinking about your trajectory as an educator, as a parent, as a, you know, as a partner and stuff like that. I think all those things kind of come for me, like I said, what I've known from you, and the conversations that I've heard you both have, especially when you were working on your masters, right? I think that has been the for me the link between you and feminism and everything else. So.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, and when you were speaking, I thought, I think immediately when people think feminists, like you were talking about, is these burning locas, you know, say que brujas, right? But I think above all, what people think is you hate men.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like, well, as a mother, that's impossible because I love my son. And then according to my twins, he's the favorite.
He's a favorite.
I'm like, I tell him that's not true, right? I'm like, it's like impossible. Only a parent will know that that's not even possible,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But I'm also a wife, you know, a partner, you know. I got married at a time that the word partner wasn't used
it?
that much. So, for me, a marriage is a partnership. It's a lifelong partnership, you know. I don't even want to go there, but anyways,
Right.
I think that's what it is that people think you're mad, you're angry, and you hate men. And that's not true. You know, I love my father. I love my son. I love my husband. You know, and I think that's a part of that woman perspective. If you are a person that gives life to other lives, it's like impossible for you to like hate anyone, I think, because at least for me, I mean, I have a very motherly instinct, and I ask myself, is that a good thing, right? Just like you have patriarchy, is matriarchy, you know, a bad thing? You know, a maternalistic approach to things. But and it might be, you know, 20 years from now, people might say that that's horrible, right? But I think overall, what it is at least for me, you know, being a mother has changed like who I am as a person and the way I move in the world. I feel like we need to nurture more than penalize and, you know, and being punitive. And I think that's a really important part of being feminist for me is being nurturing, right?
Yeah.
I make mistakes. Everyone does, right? And when I can own up to them, I do. But I'm sure there's a lot of things, mistakes I've made that I have no idea what they are, you know?
Yeah, you just never know. Yeah, I mean, and we're all coming from different paths, but I think the history of feminism across its debates, there's tensions, right? I
Oh,
think that
yeah.
that's part of the dialogue and the debate that feminisms can have and acknowledge having. Like you said, we're gonna make mistakes,
Yeah.
but that's how you build coalition, and that's how you build you know, bridges, right? A la Moraga in Ansaldúa, right? That's how you build them. So we have to, but I think for me, where we stop sometimes is because of our own, I think what we internalize and how we grow up, we stop at not talking, like the dialogues, right? The listening to each other. I think that's where we lack education, like on how to do that.
Right. No.
Right?
That's really difficult.
Yeah.
For example, in our collective, or Save the San Juan Hotel Collective, we have people who are from Gen Z to baby boomers.
Wow.
And, you know, especially the elder women in the community, they don't come with the same language
Yeah.
that the newer generations have. And they have totally different experiences also. And so that can cause conflict, right? But I think we're moving past this sort of cancel culture thing slowly, right? And we have to be open to having those conversations. I mean, I don't really want to talk to some right-wing extremist. No. But these are women, for example, that they're doing feminist work and they don't realize it. And one of them, I was stunned, said, "Well, I don't consider myself a feminist. I still don't even know what that means." And I'm like, "Girl, what?" I'm like, "You left your sorry ass husband and took care of all your kids.
Yeah.
You took them and you migrated, you know, and then when you came back, you fought for the rights of farm workers. And, you know, you're a feminist.
Yeah.
A ti no te dice nada nadie." I'm like, that's a feminist. But for them, it has such a horrible negative connotation that they have to unravel all of that. But I think being in these multi-generational spaces helps them understand that more. But I think it helps the younger folks.
Also,
When they're willing to say, "Oh, I need to give space to these people," right? And they may use language that I don't agree with, but they don't know that. Like esas señoras or those elders, they haven't been exposed to that.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not on TikTok, right? Many of them, like in our group, will be like, "I don't know what to do with the phone." So it took months to explain how to use WhatsApp, for example. They didn't understand. And one the other day told me, "If I send you random messages, ignore it. I don't know what I'm doing." Which explained a lot of the messages I was getting. I was like, what? But so it's really hard. It's so difficult. And we're living in a time, right, that is horrible,
Yes.
you know, that I think it's really easy to police people that are even on your same side,
Yeah.
because it's so unsafe,
Yeah.
right? And people, younger people, do feel like if you use the wrong word, they feel deeply offended, right?
Yeah.
Or you can wear the wrong shirt, right? And for them, it's like, oh, I just thought it was a cute shirt,
Yeah.
you know. But for the younger, they're like, that's racist, that's misogynistic, and they're like, how, why? I don't even understand. And so I think, like, being in these spaces, you know, I think as an educator and as a mom, what I try to do is like help each other navigate. I mean, myself too. I include myself, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah. We're always learning.
yeah, and so one thing I found is like when the elders say something that in today's world is problematic, I don't call them out in front of everyone. I sit down, I talk with them and say, hey, just so you know, today this means this, right? And I've never had a time where they didn't say, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me, right?
Yeah.
And they, you know, and we keep making mistakes and we're just trying to learn.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to be a feminist,
Yeah.
at least to claim it, right? And to be one, because
Yeah.
you are exhausting so much energy because, as you said, you're not just a feminist, right? You're a mother, you are a person of color, maybe you don't speak the dominant language, or and that can mean a lot of things. Like it could be like you don't speak great English, or you don't speak so-called great Spanish, right?
Yeah.
You could speak Spanglish, and then entre todos, you're like seen as like this. So you're and immigration status, and not necessarily your own, but your families or your students, and it's endless. It's endless things that we're navigating, but at the same time, I do think that's what makes us like bridge builders. I
Yeah.
think that's what I'll be honest. I think it makes us smarter, right? Because we have to navigate all of these worlds. I mean, this is not anything new. Like
Yeah.
the double consciousness of Du Bois and people were already talking about it. And I think what theory does really is explain things to you that you know already exist,
Yeah.
right? You're like, oh, some people be like, yeah, but we all know that. I'm like, yeah, but having the language is helpful,
It is very.
right? And so figuring out what does this label feminism mean for one person
Yeah.
is important because it has a lot to do with how you deal with other people.
Yes.
So this is primarily our audience or students.
Yeah.
So I want them to know your educational trajectory.
Oh.
You know, I want them to kind of get a sense of, you know, who you are now, right? Because I also want you to think about how feminism has informed your work over the years, right? But tell us about your educational journey. Where did you start? How did it all happen?
Oh, yeah. It's very interesting because I think my feminist consciousness started at home, but I didn't have a mom in the home. I was raised by my single father. And for some years, my dad and my abuelos. And my dad was the biggest feminist I knew.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he was raising two girls by himself. He was an only child, so he didn't grow up with women much other than his own mother. And I remember my dad always told me, you're a woman and you're Latina, you're going to have to work twice as hard as everybody else just to get even close to being on par or receiving the benefits that they receive, you know? I don't remember in time in my life as a child that I wasn't listening to that.
Wow.
And I come from a family of activists. I don't think I realized that until later in life. Like my grandfather and my grandmother and my dad are from Cuba. My grandfather was an anarchist.
Oh.
And he was a sindicalista, you know, a union leader of the waiters in Havana, Cuba. And he exiled during Batista and then came back for the Cuban Revolution. And then soon, during communism, you know, what happens is, well, you can't have labor activists, right? That's not possible. So he had to exile again. But then even he exiled to, first to New York, back to Cuba, then from Cuba to Jamaica. And then my father and my grandmother followed them. They pretended to go on a vacation to Portugal and then moved to Jamaica. And then from Jamaica, after a time there, they moved to Puerto Rico. And they lived there for a little while before they moved to the United States. And like almost most immigrants, the dream was always to return. Always.
Yes.
And so my grandfather was part of an anarchist group in the United States. And they published a quarterly publication against Cuba, an anarchist publication called Wangara. And so Wangara is, I believe that's a indigenous word that means something that a lot of Cubans say, bulla, right?
Okay.
And bulla, for those of you who don't use it, it means a lot of loud noise. So, like growing up, people would tell you, "Para de ser tanta bulla. You're being too loud. You're being too noisy," right? And it's all anti-United States. It's I remember clearly seeing in there cartoon, and it was the Statue of Liberty, and it was said, what did she say on the thing? Like,
Give me your huddle masses and so on and so forth.
yeah, bring me your huddled masses, your poor, and then it said, except the Haitians.
Oh.
Because this was 1980s.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a critique
Yeah.
of the United States, of their
Yeah.
immigration policy,
Yeah,
you know. And we didn't grow up with music in my home. We only grew up with political radio in Spanish. So it's weird because me and my sister love to dance. I don't know exactly where that came from, but
You just had it in you.
oh yeah. Oh, in elementary school, we would like buy outfits. We were gonna go on one of those shows, those dancing shows back in the day, like Reach for the Star. I don't even know what they're called. We had dances. We practiced them. We were waiting for our turn to make it as dancers.
We discovered.
It was amazing. I loved it so much. But my grandmother, you know, she had very little education. I think maybe to the second grade, and she was my primary mother figure in the home. In the United States, she cleaned hotels, and then would later clean hospitals, which eventually is the reason why she died, because they believe she caught hepatitis
One of those.
cleaning hospitals, and that led to liver disease.
Yeah.
And we were in a very loving home, but my grandmother, she was not to be messed with. Like, Cubans use the word fiera a lot. Esa es una fiera. Like, I see it as a compliment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, don't mess with her. And she was like that. At the same time, I was writing the checks at the store for her because she couldn't write the checks. And I'm thinking about that. I'm like, I was like 7 writing checks. That's wild, right?
Yeah.
At Montgomery Ward and
Yeah.
these places. And she really did not like white people.
Yeah.
She thought that they were rude and racist and unaccommodating. I never to this day forget, I said something to my grandmother. I said, "I'm sorry." And she said, I'm sorry. Es siempre lo que dicen los americanos. Te atropellan con un carro y I'm sorry. And I was like, oh, wow. I didn't know that, like, anger towards that community was in her, which makes it very complicated because my mother's white. And I sometimes think, oh, maybe it's because my mom is white, and she left us, you know, and left my dad and them to raise us. Okay. And she loved her son so much. I think it's, even myself, I can't even imagine why a mother wouldn't stay around. Like, for me personally, that's like incomprehensible. But I know there's all kinds of psychological reasons for those things. Yeah. But yeah, and so I went to school in Miami, Florida. And what was very interesting when I look back is that We didn't have dual language in the way they have it right now, but we did have Spanish for Spanish speakers. Miami is actually the birthplace of formal bilingual education because they wanted to make sure when the revolution was over
That people
that
could go back. Right?
yes, they wanted to make sure those kids knew Spanish because if they didn't, the parents were probably going to want to stay. So that's the rationale for bilingual, the origin of bilingual education in the United States at the federal level. But I did get to take Spanish every day, and it was Spanish for Spanish speakers, and you're not like learning the alphabet or anything.
No.
So, I grew up literate in Spanish, and I could speak Spanish. I didn't realize until later that my Spanish was supposedly bad Spanish
Yeah.
until I got to college, right? But in elementary school, I loved school in elementary, and then once we got to middle school and high school, I really didn't like it. I didn't read one single novel throughout my whole educational I don't want to say kinder, through my middle school and high school.
Okay.
I was supposed to.
But you
I didn't. I thought it was boring. I thought it was horrible. It was that was like the worst punishment you could give. I remember we had to read the Scarlet Letter, and I was like, oh, Dios mío, what the? So I like the pre Google, right? My dad told me that they have these summaries in the bookstore and the libraries, and I got the summary. Cliff Notes, yes, the yellow and black books. I did that, and I feel fortunate because not everybody had this opportunity, but I was labeled early on as gifted or intelligent, right?
were you in the gifted and talented?
I was in the gifted and talented program, right? Yeah. And an interesting story about that, once I got into it, my dad wanted my sister to be in it and had asked to have her tested, and she didn't pass.
The test.
But my sister said, yeah, but they gave me the test in Spanish.
Oh, wow.
And so he said, I want a new test, and I want it in English. And then she passed. Right?
Yeah.
So all of these tiny micro things happen that you aren't even aware of.
Yeah.
Right? I have no idea if my test was in Spanish or in English. I'm going to assume it was in Spanish because if they gave it to my sister in Spanish, they gave it to me in Spanish. But, so I do like that I was part of that because it allowed you some creativity. Through elementary and middle school and high school, I was in it as well. No, not high school, but middle school. And so by the time I was in high school, I was completely disengaged with learning. Like, I didn't want to be there. I never studied. Sometimes I would study for math because I was really horrible at it. And I didn't want to fail.
Yeah.
And sports for me was my outlet. Like, sports saved my life. I started playing just at the rec in 5th grade, and I was playing volleyball, basketball, softball, every track, cross country. I did all of that through elementary and middle school and even high school. I would play all of those sports at the rec, and then in high school, I ran track, I ran cross country,
Oh, you were active.
and I played basketball.
Yeah.
And I was good. I wasn't the best. I was never the most talented. I know that. And yeah, sure, that made me jealous. But I worked my ass off, like on the court or in practice. I don't know where I got that. I'm assuming that's from my dad and my abuelos working all the time, right? And my dad in my head saying, you're going to have to be twice as good as everybody else, right? Yeah. So, like, upon graduation, I had to go. My dad told me I had to go to college, which was strange because, but I also had to go to college away from home.
He wanted you to leave.
It was very strange because all of my friends were not allowed to leave for college. They had to stay. If they were going to go, they had to stay at home. And I asked him, why? And he told me, well, my dad is a type 1 diabetic, And so he's had it since he was a young
Yeah.
child. He almost died when they were living in Puerto Rico because he fell into a coma. And he told me, he said, your grandmother's dead. You're so morbid, right? Like everything he talked about, worst case scenario.
But those were our realities.
It
right?
is. Yeah, because he was like, your grandfather's dead. Your grandmother's dead. Your mom is not around. No one in her family is going to help you. And I'm probably going to die. And he said, I need you to know how to take care of yourself without coming home to wash your clothes or asking me for $10. I was like, at the time, I'm like, you're so weird. Like, which is what my kids tell me all the time. They're like, you're so weird. Who thinks like that? Right? It's all my trauma I'm unleashing onto them. That's right.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, right. And, so he also told me, this is so wild when I think about my dad, who's still alive, by the way.
No.
He's going to outlive me because he has amazing health care in Miami, right?
Yeah. Texas.
Yo. He told me I have a life insurance policy. And I'm like, what? I even know what that means. He says, so when I die, you don't get any of my money until you're either 40 or you've graduated from college. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I need to know you can take care of yourself.
Oh, wow.
So like even when we were getting my driver's license, he made me learn how to drive stick shift because he said, I don't want you to be at a party and the only car is a stick shift and you can't drive. I need you to be able to take care of yourself, right? I had to learn how to change the tire and check all the fluids in the car. And only then could I take my driver's test. But I took it on my birthday because I learned.
Yeah.
And so for me, going to college, it was the only option. It never occurred to me that I couldn't. But I wanted to go to college to play basketball. That was my only motivating factor. I received scholarships from Division I schools to run track and cross country, but I didn't want to go. I wanted to play basketball. I like being on the court. Like, I grew up on the blacktop, bien callejera, because no one was around to take care of me. And so I went to college to play basketball at a Division III school. Not nearly as prestigious as yet, but I didn't care. I just wanted to play basketball. That was my whole life. And when I got to college, I realized, wow, I kind of like learning. I liked being in the library, and I liked learning. I also had, in college, my first semester, a horribly racist, sexist professor of philosophy. And I had to drop the class because I couldn't take it. Yeah. I was not only not going to pass, but it was agonizing to be in that class. Yeah. And literally, when I'm graduating, in my last year of college, which I did in 3 years because the hustle, right? Yeah. You got and also, I know this is ridiculous, but I was like, I'm not going to be a statistic. Oh. I'm not going to be that Latina who doesn't get their degree and, then gets married before they... this was so deeply ingrained in me by my father and also just my own lived experiences. Yeah. So I graduated in 3 years. My last semester, I took something crazy, 24 credit hours in the summer. I did 12 and 12. And I'm not bragging, but I got my first C that summer.
Because it was a lot.
It was ridiculous. I remember the essay, one of the essay questions, I put, I have no idea, happy face. I knew I was going to pass at this point. Yeah. But I was in a class, and there was a señora más grande. You've told me I would have thought she was a senior citizen. She was probably my age, right? Talking about, I got a degree in Spanish because I just wanted to graduate fast. And that's the fastest. When I was going into college, my goal was to be a basketball coach or the first female commentator on ESPN.
There you go.
Thankfully, we have now we have some. But that's not that long ago.
We don't have that many
Not
either.
that many, and it's not maybe in the last decade.
Yeah, and they don't take the main spots either.
No, nunca. Nunca. So I loved watching the WNBA finals because the women who do the analysis are so amazing. So I just wanted to graduate. And there was a lady in my class, and she said she was going to get a master's degree at the University of Florida and in Spanish, and that they were going to pay everything. And she was going to teach and get paid. I said, teach?
You can do that.
That's what I want to do. And you're going to pay me? I had no plans whatsoever. So I literally just go into the library. Back then, no Google. Tienes unos libros grandotes donde you have to look at every single school and this and that. And I found a school that it wasn't too late to apply to. And I applied to get my master's there at St. Louis University, and I got in.
Wow.
I don't know how, because honestly, it was a Spanish program, and my writing was pretty awful in the sense
Yeah.
of
Writing,
them,
English,
that the
Spanish,
way
yeah.
they think of Spanish. Spanish departments are very elitist.
Yeah.
You know, they're there to preserve the purity of the language. In general, that's the case, and it would be hard to find one that you didn't. And then I found out you could get a PhD. I'm like, what? What's a PhD? And I could keep studying, which I liked, right? And they're gonna pay me. I went again, only option, super late deadline. So I end up at the University of Oklahoma. I don't know anything about Oklahoma, except that one of my professors went there, and they let me in, right? So I was gonna get paid. I was gonna have a job, and I was gonna be able to be in school still.
Okay.
Which was, I liked that. I mean, the classes, anyone knows graduate school is hard. It's a lot of work, especially if you're in literature. Man, you're reading like 3 books a week.
So
It's crazy.
By this time, you were already reading novels.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. In my undergraduate, thank you for reminding me, I hustled my way out of all the literature classes except one. They said, no, you're going to have to take one. And so, okay, fine. I read a book, a story, I should say, not a book, called La Muñeca Menor por Rosario Ferré, in her book Papeles de Pandora. And that, for the first time in my life, I saw myself reflected in a book. And it was a feminist story about a woman who literally was treated like a doll and dies like sitting on the chair as a doll. It's so powerful. And that entire book is amazing. And, you know, it's a Caribbean writer, so there was a lot of Caribbean things that I connected to as well. I was like, oh my God, this is good, right? I had no idea. Even in my PhD program, I'm in love with the literature, right? Mexico, Sudamérica, Centroamérica, El Caribe. But then I see a sign that says, oh, Chicano literature class in Santa Fe, offered by the English department. For me, it was like, okay, it was one class, 3 credit hours that I could get in 1 week. So I was like, sign me up, right?
Still hustling to get that done.
Still, I don't even know what Chicano means at this
Yeah,
moment. I'm like, what's Chicano? You know, like, you have an idea, right? And I asked the Spanish department, can I take this class and it counts to the degree? And the advisor says, I don't see why not. And he was Chicano. He was the only Chicano in the whole, Latino from the United States even, as a professor.
Yeah.
He reports back to me and says, the department voted against it. I said, why? He said, according to them, this has nothing to do with Spanish. And it was a Chicano literature course.
Oh, wow.
I was pissed. I didn't take it because I wasn't going to waste my money.
Yeah.
But then that next fall, Denise Chavez, the Chicana author, comes to give a class, a 2-week class. I said, I'm taking it. I don't care what it means. If I have to miss teaching, if it doesn't count, lo que sea, yo voy a estar allí. And so you have this amazing person,
Wow.
Chicana,
Yeah.
Denise Chavez, amazing, beautiful human being, but amazing writer, introducing me not only to her work, but Gloria Anzaldúa, Sandra Cisneros, and Tato Laviera.
Oh, that's how you, okay.
For the first time in my life, I saw myself, even more so than with Rosario Ferré. And more importantly, I saw that Latinos from the United States write. It was a concept that had never occurred to me. right? Yo sabía que allá en México y en el Caribe, en Colombia, Argentina, todos escribían. That was not,
Yeah. Yeah.
but someone like me was an author, and it was good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Americo Paredes too, we read in that class, and wow, that blew my mind. And from then on, I said, everything I do is going to be geared towards Chicanx and Latinx studies. I don't care what the class is, so, so that's how Cosecha Voices was. It was a Spanish class, but it was a Chicano studies class, right? And so from that moment on, I don't know if I, was conscious at that moment, but I said, all of my classes are going to be Chicanx and Latinx studies. No one is leaving my class or the university that I'm a professor of and not going to know that we don't write. Pues, y entonces aquí at UTPA, UTRGV, pura raza.
Sí.
And that compromiso became even bigger. And I'm still fighting for that.
You are?
Every year. I do it in my class, but trying to make people understand that we are living in Mexican America, right? And we are not preparing our students with a Mexican American education. Yeah. Students leave here who are going to be English teachers and have never read a novel or poetry by a Chicano, right? You're going to teach history, and you've never been required to take a Mexican American history class. Yeah. It's an option, but it's not required.
When I started teaching Mexican American studies here, I would ask students, have you all read Sandra Cisneros? House on Mango Street. That's just, you read that in middle school, right? Yeah. And no hands went up. Nobody's teaching. And this was just a few years ago, so I'm assuming that it's still not being taught in middle school or in high school.
I think it's rare.
Yeah.
I think it's still rare, which is sad, and even more now, because now I think people know the power of knowing that you can write. Yeah. That knowing you're an actor in political or literary or cultural history is dangerous for the people in power, because then we see, we can do it too, right? It's not the exception. And so, that's why being an educator, I think, is so critical, and teaching Mexican American studies and Latino studies, because even if they don't go on to teach it, they just can inform how they make their own personal decisions. Yeah. Whether it's how you, navigate your home, the ballot box, your workspace. I think that it's critical. We can't have the view of an outsider view. We have to have an insider view.
Yeah. So, right now you are incredibly active in the community. You always have been, right? Yes. But I think over the years that I've known you, I think it's like you are becoming, or you are the public intellectual, right? Can you tell us your activism in San Juan, around the Save the San Juan Hotel?
Yeah, it's very much connected to my role as an educator. This is not something I envisioned ever doing or having to do. I'm more one to join a cause than to be part of the leadership of a cause. But, in 2024, someone from the Hidalgo County Historical Commission, I think around March, called me and said, I don't know if you know, but the city voted to demolish the hotel. And my understanding is that you've done a lot of research on the hotel. And I said, I did. I've been doing it since 2016. Oh, wow. Because my students and I were doing another mural at a park called Mayfield Park. Okay. And so, pues, como siempre, todo in UTRGV and El Valle está atrasado. Sí. So we didn't get that paint for a month. So yo tengo que inventar toda una cosa nueva to do in the meantime. And yo dije, ¿quién es Mayfield? Why would a park be named Mayfield
in San Juan?
San Juan. Pura raza, right?
Yeah.
So, pues ahí sacamos el teléfono a googlear ahí, ¿quién es Mayfield? Pops up a historical landmark. And it's at the San Juan Hotel. I said, we're doing this class in the city every Friday. let's go to San Juan Hotel. Let's look at the historical marker. So ahí estamos. It's abandoned at that time in the hands of a lawyer. And the historical marker, among other things, says that he was a Texas Ranger from 1910 to 1915. And I said, oh, this is not a good man.
Yeah.
There is no way that he earned the community's highest respect, which is what it says on the
Of course.
Of
plaque.
course, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the? How can this be possible? How could this park be named after him? And then we were like, ¿Qué onda con el hotel? Right? Because he had lived there the last 3 or 4 years of his life. After he was beat by Erasmo Bravo, the first Mexican-American constable. Because he just wasn't a Texas Ranger. He was the law until like 1960-something.
In San Juan.
Bar San Juan and Alamo. He was the constable until Bravo beats him. And the city pays his rent to live at the hotel when he retires. So we go and I'm like, let's just ask people on the street. Like, there's a yatería ahí. And I was like, pues, y un garaje. Le dije, pues, váyanse a preguntar. And so some of the students come back with this one guy. And he says his name is the Cowboy. I'm like, so what do you know about the San Juan Hotel? And he says, ahí colgaban a los mexicanos.
Oh.
We were stunned. Like, we're standing on this land
Yeah.
that's honoring this horrible human being that's responsible for those lynchings because he's the law. And then we start asking more people over the next weeks. And every single person we say, what do you know about the hotel? The first thing they say is, they used to hang Mexicans there. And I am like stunned, like in shock.
Yeah.
So now, of course, the whole thing takes on a whole new meaning, right?
Yeah.
We do research. The students, they have different research groups, and one is the hotel. One is Tom Mayfield. And what we discovered was horrendous. We discovered that he was responsible for the mass lynching of 15 to 30 people in one day in Alamo.
One day.
Yes, and people remember this and talk about how he left them hanging for 3 days until a priest took them down because everyone was too scared to take them down. And he himself in an interview later in life says, as far as, it's so hard to say these things, as far as I know, the bodies are still buried there.
As far as I know.
Yeah. And I was like, so, then there's so much more to all of that. But basically, we did get the name of the park changed.
You did, yeah.
We
To
did.
what?
To San Juan Sports Complex,
Ah, okay.
right?
Yeah.
Not
Ah,
that
yeah.
somebody's deal
Sí, sí,
or,
sí. Yeah, yeah.
or, you know, so that could,
Lo que es.
It's a community.
yeah, let's just give it a generic name
Yeah.
porque
Yeah.
mejor no poner nombres. Which I think they were wise to do.
Yeah.
But then when they called me from the historical commission, I told them this history, and they're like, what? He was like, the president was like, I didn't know any of this. And so I was not gonna not stand up for them demolishing the hotel, which is controversial in itself because there are community members that say that
They
place
should,
is
yeah.
very painful. I don't ever want to see it again. I remember a former police chief told me that, and he said, do you know Mayfield would get a quick confession out of Mexicans? Do you know how? I said, no, I don't. So this is a trigger warning.
Yeah.
He would pull your nails with pliers.
Torture.
He would carry a whip. You know who else carried a whip? Hitler.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that, you have to pause
Yeah.
and be like, oh my God, that's so much pain. But what we found is other people with similar stories said, no, you cannot tear it down, but it needs to be a site for truth-telling and reconciliation so that we can heal,
Yeah.
Not a conference center like the city wants to build, right? So I met people at a city meeting. I thought this was going to be easy, explain it, ask for a meeting. Started meeting community members, and they wouldn't meet with us. It's been almost 2 years, and they still haven't met with us. And so we have someone from our committee, our collective, go to every meeting, at least one person,
Okay.
if not more,
Okay.
asking for a meeting.
Yeah,
And the answer is no.
and they
The
changed
answer is no, not no. It's silence.
and they changed the public comment policies because of you, right?
Yes, they changed the public comment policies so that you can only speak on something that's on the agenda. That was a rule, but it was never enforced. Now there's major policing even when you want to sign up. They ask you, they make sure everything you fill out is by the books. But you find your way to speak anyways.
Yeah.
So the police is giving a report, right?
Yeah.
And so I have a question about the police report, and I say, this is why we need to save the San Juan Hotel
Yeah.
and X, Y, and Z. But I recently found out that through the state law, the Open Meetings Act, you can limit people to speaking on the agenda only, except when they want to talk about something they want put on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
it's
so
a
you're
little
just-
loophole for
yeah.
everybody out there who tries to get blocked. But yeah, they got tired of us, and they thought that they were going to keep us quiet, and they didn't. And since we can't have a conversation with them, our only choice is like on social media to have our conversation, and we know they're listening, because if not, they wouldn't be so mad. And that's our only way of communicating with them. And from there, we created an exhibit, myself and some students, on colonization and racial violence in the Rio Grande Valley, specifically tied to the hotel in Tom Mayfield. And it was part of a larger event in April of this year in Alamo, and 300 people came.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my God. And luckily we had someone very knowledgeable about making those things happen,
Yeah.
guiding us.
Yeah.
And what we saw is all night, people would not stop looking at the exhibit. There was a lot of things going on. But that was it. And so then we think, well, we can take the exhibit to all these places. And they're like, you know what? That's exhausting. But also, if you don't go that day on that time,
Yeah.
you don't get to see it.
Yeah.
So one day after one of the meetings, I go walk by the hotel and I see a for rent sign, literally right next to it. It's a tiny little room, casi como un closet. And I'm like, let's put the exhibit there. I signed the lease and I put a deposit. I didn't know how I was going to pay the rent, but
But it was there.
but it was mine, right? And luckily the collective was like, yeah, let's do it. And we raised enough money to keep it open for the summer. And that was our goal. This summer, we're going to have the museo for free. Todos pueden venir. And at our grand opening, we had 400 people show up.
Nice.
We also had the police show up. That I won't even tell you the whole drama of even the event. But the police, the city was blocking us as best they could to not even have the event. And then we wanted to keep it open. And so as long as we have enough donations to pay the rent, we're open.
Okay.
So like right now, we're good through January.
Oh, nice. That's good. We need to go.
Yes, so people who are interested in going to the Museo 956, don't take for granted that it's going to just be there all year.
Yeah.
We're basically month to month,
Okay.
depending on visitors, donations, if you donate $10, you get a free T-shirt.
And then what's what's the address so if people are listening?
Sure. Museo 956 is, if you Google it, it comes up as a business, and it's 109 West Business 83. If you go to the San Juan Hotel, you can't miss us because
Right across.
we're on the same block as the hotel, which is great because then you get to take a look at the hotel. And something interesting about the hotel I think a lot of people don't know is that hotel is over 100 years old. It predates the founding of the city. It's made from bricks milled in San Juan, from the earth of San Juan and the Rio.
Yeah.
And man, that's important.
Yeah.
You can't even destroy that. How could you even consider it?
So just to clarify, right now, even though they voted to demolish it, what is holding it back?
Us,
You are okay.
the people.
Okay.
We make a lot of noise.
Okay.
They say we don't have the funding. That's their excuse now. We don't need to meet with you because we don't have the funding. But we've gone to them with grants and they won't let us apply because you need the city to say, yes, it's okay.
Yeah, to be able to.
We were offered a $20,000 grant, and they refused to even speak. We brought it to them at the city meeting.
They
They
refused.
just remained silent. And the whole point of that was to do an assessment on the hotel. Can it be restored? How much would it cost? What would it look like? For free?
Y tampoco.
No, because they have their narrative is that it can't be saved. Their narrative is that the architect tells them is, oh, he did an engineering report on it and it said it can't be saved. But in a meeting with the city planner, myself and another member, we're told by the city planner no such engineering report exists.
Mm.
Yeah, because
And
it would be public. It
Yeah.
would have to be public.
they don't have it.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. But we're messing up, ERO architects' business and strategy. I mean, they built the city hall, they built the new fire station, they built the police station from 5 years ago, and they just approved to put a $14 million expansion on the police station that's 5 years old. All public funding, like taxpayer funded, no grants. And my argument is, it is unheard of that you cannot get a grant to expand a police station. Like, if there's money, there's money for law enforcement.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Especially right now.
But here's the kicker. Those $14 million, that's exactly how much they had budgeted for that hotel to be demolished and constructed into a new city
So you think they
conference
should-
center.
They probably shifted the money over.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's wild. It's so wild.
Okay. Well, and unfortunately, I want to talk to you more about
No,
the
no,
hotel.
no, pues sí.
Pero
Ya se
we're-
pasamos
ya,
la hora.
ya nos pasamos la hora. Maybe we can do a part 2 next.
Whenever
next,
you like.
Yeah, next semester
Yeah.
we'll do a part 2, or even maybe next. Yeah, I'll see when we'll put this together again.
Yeah, no, but all of the listeners, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, visit us in person, and learn more.
It's
Because we
important.
need to know
Yeah.
our history.
Definitely, yes.
We really need to heal from it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Yes, thank
thank
you.
you, Sylvia and Jay.
Thank
No,
you.
yeah. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and everyone, this has been great. So we're not
Yes.
going to have a show next week
Don't
because
eat too much turkey.
Yeah.
A descansar.
A descansar, duerman. Yeah, and or if you have to work, I'm sorry. But yeah, so we'll see you then December 4th, which will be our last show, and have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you again.
No,
Okay.
muchas
Thank you.
gracias a
Álvarez.
ustedes.
Yeah.
Gracias.